Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this week. Thank you for listening if you're listening on the podcast and watching if you're watching on YouTube. I have another special guest this week. This is Chaz, also known as hashtag Graffin. I saw him post on Twitter and I had to reach out to him. I really wanted to talk to him about his collection, in particular, a particular signed set collection that he's really heavily into. And I will have him explain that here in just a minute. But first of all, just thank you, Chaz. Thank you so much for coming on and talking today. I really appreciate it.
Of course, Kurt. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, should we get started with how you got started in the hobby, or should we get started talking about the set that you're particularly fond of, or they kind of coincide together?
I was gonna just say they connect for sure. So early '90s is really where I got into collecting basketball cards. The long story short is I used to go grocery shopping with my mom when I was a kid. About 6, 7 years old. Went to the grocery store with her, and if I was good, then try and grab everything, put it in the cart. At the end, she would buy me a pack of SKYBOX cards. That was what the grocery store always had it. The first year with the bronze border, it was cool, but it was not my favorite. And then when the white ones came out, I was like, these ones are the best. So I started getting those, and then I kind of was starting to put the set together. And then got a little bit older and loved going to Blazer games. And pretty much the only cards I had at that time was the Skybox cards, and they happened to be just great for autographs with the white background, all that. So started taking those, and then I just started getting them signed over time. And then when I got to a good amount of them, I was like, you know what, this would be a really cool set. It's kind of near and dear to my heart. It reminds me of my mom, obviously, because she was the one buying them for me. So I was like, this would be, one of those lifelong projects that I could do and try and get it signed. And I've been doing it ever since the early '90s. So here I am.
Well, okay. So for those who I don't know, to kind of go over that again for people. So we're talking about the 91, 92 Skybox set, the awesome set that had some really killer sort of artistic graphic looks in the background on those cards. But we're also talking about a large set. How large is that set once again?
So back in the '90s, I'm sure you remember, and a lot of the young heads probably don't know. There was always, a series 1 and a series 2.
Yeah.
So there'd be like 300 cards in the first set, and then 300 cards in the set. So I have it written down. I believe there's 659 cards in the set, but I'm not getting all of them signed because there's obviously checklists. There's team logo cards. There's Dr. Naismith cards. I'm never going to get that signed, obviously. So there's certain cards that I've kind of cut out of the running to get signed. So there's about 570 and some change that I think need to be signed, and then I have about 470 and change. So I'm about 100 away from finishing it. But
wow,
yes,
470 of them. And so how many total years have you been working on this again?
So I started getting the cards obviously when they came out. It was 92, 91, 92, and then I started really getting autographs probably mid to late '90s, and then I kind of took off some years for high school, college. I wasn't going to games and graphing and doing all that, and then actually around 2008, I started getting back into getting graphs. I got season tickets to the Blazer games, so I was going to a lot of games, and I was like, hey, these guys are still around at the NBA. I mean, they're coaches, they're announcers now, all these people that were playing in the early '90s, now they're still involved and they're around, and guys would be going after Steph Curry and all these, and I'm going after Steve Kerr or the assistant coaches, trying to get these 91 cards signed. So it's been fun. It's been real fun.
So it's taken you decades basically to get where you are. Yeah, did you have a few that you can show and remind
Yeah,
everyone the
of
awesome
course, of
look
course.
of that set?
This
There
is
you
one of my
go.
favorites, obviously. Larry, let me try and get it with no glare. Just obviously the graphics are just unreal. They were kind of known for that. It was the first time I ever saw just the random shapes and the colors, and I was always a kind of a artsy fartsy guy. So just getting these. This one was, as a Blazers fan, this was the one. This was the one. Actually, there's a funny picture on the back, but it's a little kid getting a basketball sign. This guy actually, I posted something, and this guy's on Twitter. He's like, hey, that's me. And I was like, that was my dream as a kid. So I mean, there's ton of them. They were just
Yeah.
ahead of their time. I mean, they were just. I feel like cards weren't necessarily boring, but they were just pretty basic. There's just some kind of border. It was the photo. There was no photoshopping. There was no graphics. And when this came along, it was on.
Yeah, I think you hear that a lot from people who collected in the 90s. They have a love for that set because it was just so unique. There was nothing quite like it, and that was kind of, I mean, it for Skybox after that. I mean, there's a few things afterwards, but nothing quite like that set. And then you go towards, Upper Deck and Tops and Fleer kind of dominating the markets. And yeah, so you hear a lot of nostalgia for that set in particular, I feel like, from a lot of people nowadays. So yeah, right away it was just like a love for the look of that set and the uniqueness of it. And as you've gotten older, what are your thoughts on that set as it's aged over the decades?
Obviously I'm biased, but personally, I think it's gotten greater over the years. I mean, it's just so much nostalgia. It's my childhood. It's all the players I grew up watching are in this set. The subsets are great. I always talk about the subsets. Obviously, 92 something big happened, so the Dream Team is a subset in there, and I meant that you can't. I meant Coach K. There's just so many big names in this set. It's just ridiculous.
And there's a lot of people just trying to collect just the Dream Team signed set. That alone is a big set for a lot of people, and that's just what is it, 15 or whatever, 16 cards
12
in that set.
Yep.
So
it's I mean, there's dual cards, there's all-star cards, there's just, again, it's like my childhood in a set, and it was great. So I was like, I'm gonna get these signed, definitely.
Yeah, and like I said, when I saw you started posting about the signed set collection of that, I had to talk to you about it, because like I don't know if I've seen very many people chase that as a signed set. I was very interested in it, just sort of, like, how is that in comparison to, did you collect other signed sets, or is that kind of the only one that you're really focused on?
So just in my graphing days, obviously I would look up the roster of whoever I was going to go watch, and I would just see. So I would try and get at least one for everybody, something for everybody. So obviously I have actually a 78 Tops basketball set that I'm kind of trying to get. But there's huge hurdles in that. There's, Pistol Pete, and there's just guys that I probably won't get. So there was always sets that I would bring and try and get, because it's easy, because there's a lot of people. I would just buy a whole set of cards and just pick out the ones that were going to be there. But Skybox was always just the main one that I'm going after. And like I said, in the last, maybe 10 years, I've really pushed, because I've started to get closer. It was always kind of just like, these are cool, and I've got a bunch of them. But now it's like, hey, I'm 100 cards away. I should really, make a push for this. So obviously the Jordan stuff has always been a huge hurdle. And then this last year, I finally got to get one of these. So
nice.
But there's seven or eight Jordans in the set. So realistically, it's going to be super tough, so I'm going to just keep getting them. And it's crazy how they pop up. It's crazy how doing stuff like this, people hit me up on Twitter and like, hey, I have this card, do you need it? It's awesome how people help out, and how it's kind of come together over the years. So I don't know what tomorrow will bring, so I just keep saying that I collect the set, and you never know, some stuff might pop up. So it's awesome.
Absolutely. I'm really happy you got at least one of the Jordans. I mean, obviously, because of his deal with Upper Deck, I'm sure you don't find very many of those signed by Jordan. Do you know what the pop count is for all of his major cards in that set, roughly?
I don't even tease myself and look it up. I've seen so so my another OCD of mine is I don't know if you notice, I try and get them all in blue ink, blue Sharpie. So that's kind of so sometimes I see obviously this Jordan one is black ink, but it's like I'm not going to be picky with exactly. So I have seen a red signed Jordan one, and I've seen another black one. So I've only seen 3 since I've been looking. I got the eBay saved searches for any 91 Skybox sign, 92 side, but like I have every version that I could possibly have saved search. So anytime something pops up, I'm looking at it. But the Jordan ones, like you said, just they don't pop up. He doesn't sign in general usually, so let alone a Skybox card. So it's just one of those things that I might get lucky one day or I might not. Maybe I doubt he'd ever do a signing with Upper Deck, but even if he did, it would cost. I can't even imagine how much a Jordan signing would be. So yeah, I guess I got to start saving now.
You never know. Hopefully the opportunity comes up for you for sure in the future. Now that he sold the Hornets, who knows? Maybe he'll have more time on his hands and just decide to open the floodgates for more signings, or something.
I'm sure that's what Jordan wants to do in his free time, is just sign autographs. Actually, my buddy, sorry to interrupt, my buddy actually, he was a big time grapper, but he has the Olympic Jordan signed. He got that down in spring training when he was playing baseball. He actually got him to sign a baseball one. And I've been trying for years. He tells me $7,000 all the time, and I'm just like, I can't do that, man. Like, come on. So he kind of holds that over my head. So one day maybe I'll hold him to the fire and try and throw a trade at him or something that'll get that. But the Olympic one is one that I'd love to complete that dream team set also. If the little subsets, if I can't get those, I can probably live with it. But the main base card and the dream team ones are big ones for me.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know the value off the top of my head, but 7,000 for the Olympic one honestly doesn't sound probably out of the realm, because I know, like I said, so many people are collecting that Olympic set by itself, and the Jordan
Right.
one is that would be big for anyone obviously collecting just that subset. So yeah.
I hope he's not listening. Don't tell him that's a good price. Yeah, actually, he gave me that price. That was back early 2000s. He was saying that. So with the boom, he probably wants double that, knowing him. So you never know.
So what percentage would you say of that set that you've collected were that you got personally signed, and what percentage did you have to go out and just go ahead and purchase from third party sources?
That's a good question. I definitely had hundreds from in person. I've never actually tried to think about it. Probably 60%, I would say, are in person. I've gotten myself. I would, like I said, I was really big into graphing. I did, like I said, I had season tickets for years, and I went to dang near every Blazer game. So anybody that came through, I was trying. I do little things like I go to summer league in Vegas every year with my brother. So there's a ton of guys down there, and there's always just random signings and meet and greets and things like that. It's funny, TSA, every time I go, because I bring my Skybox cards anytime I travel. Pretty much, I have like this little case, and I take them. And TSA's always got to pull it out of my bag because it looks like something else, and I don't know what it looks like. So they're checking it out, and it's funny, the people, and they're like, "Oh, I remember these cards," and they're so like I travel with them, and it's funny. Let's see. Last year, I was at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, and I was gambling, and I saw David Robinson walk by, and I was like, so I dropped everything, and I got in my backpack. I got those, and I got 3 signed by David Robinson, just sitting at the poker table at the Bellagio. So just stuff randomly happens, and like I said, it just I don't know what the future is going to be, but it's funny how they randomly come together. So it's really cool.
That is really cool. Yeah. So which ones besides the Jordan stand out as some of the hardest for you to obtain up to this point?
So obviously there's being an old set now, 30 years pretty much. I sound old set, but there's guys like Manute Bol. So these ones are really cool to me. Obviously you can't find those. And then there's more like the subsets of Manute Bol. So those ones are harder. I've found a few of the like the base ones, but the subset ones are the ones that are hard to find, of certain players that passed away early. Reggie Lewis. I have in the binder here, I have some Drazen Petrovic, guys like that were big hurdles for me, but I'm really glad I got those. Some more subset, Reggie Lewis. Um, let's see, Moses Malone. He's another one. I got him on a bunch. He's in here a lot. Just kind of those random guys that passed away and no longer signing or doing anything. Brian Williams. This is a crazy story. Obviously, if you know that story, just those. There's just a ton of those little, just random guys in there that are fun to track down. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
trying to think.
Well, if you think about it too, obviously, Reggie Lewis passed away, what, in 93? And
Yep.
Petrovich
Same with
passed away
Drazen.
around 94. So
Yep.
there was only like 2 years or 3 years for them to sign those cards. So I can
Yep.
only
Yep.
imagine, yeah, how low the pops are going to be for them. And they'll obviously never change unless there's still some, in somebody's closet somewhere, which could always happen. But you're probably not going to change very much over the next few years. And they probably almost never pop up for sale.
No, they really don't. So I jump on them when I got those few, but luckily I got them before kind of the whole boom of everything in the last few years, and kind of got them in the early 2000s, and they were reasonable back then. So now it's crazy. I can't even imagine. The other ones that are tough to track down are the duels. I mean, there's not even like Wayman Tisdale on the dual autograph with the Kings. I love the dual ones. Any dual autographs. I'm working on a few triple. I just got a Chris Mullen one signed from my guy Ryan Channels down at California Roadshow. He hooked those up, some Chris Mullen stuff. There's just random guys, and again, it just happens. It's crazy.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's really exciting to hear about how far along you've gotten in that set. And you talked about the 78 set, I believe, as well. So, are there other things that you're really kind of passionate about in your collecting at the moment? Yeah, like I see a
I
lot
collect.
behind you, but what are some of the things that kind of stand out to you that you're also like collecting and really trying to go after besides the 9192 Skybox set?
So my main PCs are the Skybox set, probably is number one. I also have, so my son's name is Carmelo, and we're huge Blazer fans. He actually wasn't named after Carmelo, so everybody thinks that. But once Carmelo Anthony went to the Blazers, he's like, he has my name. He plays for the Blazers. He loves basketball. So
For
we
the for
started
the
collecting we
for the
started
two
collecting
months he was on the
together.
Blazers. Sorry, no,
The bubble run, yes, exactly, which is actually good. I like that he only played a year and a half with the Blazers, because his cards are not, they're not. He never had an autograph with the Blazers, so that's nice. Now I see all this flawless patches autographs, and it's like, I'm so glad I don't have to try and chase those. But the Skybox probably number one, Carmelo Blazers cards number two, and then the main PC since I was a kid is Jermaine O'Neal Blazers cards. So again, I was really into graphing as a kid, and then when '96 happened, '96 is just, that was the year for me. I'm at top out, the '96 that I love. But Jermaine O'Neal came to the Blazers. He was 17. I was like 13. So I was like, this is crazy. He's like, this guy's pretty much my age and he's playing for the Blazers. That's my dream. So I started collecting him. I would, talk to him pretty much every game, before the game, get an autograph, just so that really stuck with me, that whole draft class, him. So I've always collected him. But pretty much those three things, Carmelo, Jermaine, and the Skybox, I've kind of narrowed it down now that I've gotten older, and tried to just collect that. But basketball memorabilia in general, I've just collected over the years. I have random stuff you can see, sorry, over here. I mean, I have just LeBron stuff, Jordan stuff that I've collected over the years. It's my wife thinks I'm crazy. So it's just endless stuff. I have this whole room that I've tried to put together now, and my kids love it, but my wife rolls her eyes, but she's very supportive also. So it's great.
Oh, no, that is great. Yeah, I mean, I try not to fill up too much of our shelves with my collection. I try to keep it tucked away as much as I can. But no, that's great. Do you have a particular favorite Blazers team that stands out the most to you over the years?
So early '90s, I mean, that's what I grew up. Late '80s, early '90s, obviously the Drexler, Porter, Kersey, Duckworth, all those guys, Buck Williams. I mean, that's what I grew up on. Uncle Cliffy, all those guys. And then when I got a little bit older, we made another kind of run with Arvidas and Rashid and Stoudemire and all those guys, you know, early 2000s. Man, Kobe broke my heart too many times with those teams. So I love those teams. And then we get a little bit older. I was a big Brandon Roy fan. Again, that's when around the time that I got season tickets, and just watching him in the few years that he had with the Blazers, he was just, I mean, that was my guy for a little bit. And then Lillard came in. So, you know, it just seems like every 6 years or so there's somebody new that I latch on to and that really root for.
Yeah, well, Portland's got an incredible long history, obviously, and in the league, and a lot of really serious fans up in that area just for basketball in general. And it's great to see. I mean, I'm from Oklahoma City, so I'm an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, and so Oklahoma City and Portland over the years have certainly had their beefs and bouts against each other. But I've always respected Portland fans and the Portland franchise from afar, is because I just think that there's a lot of passionate basketball people from that area, even going back to, you know, the 70s teams, obviously, with Walton and Maurice Lucas and those guys that had that fantastic team going for a few years in the late 70s. Yeah, there's just a lot of great basketball history in that area, it seems like.
No doubt. Like we were talking about off camera, I mean, it was a one show in town. That was the Blazers was the only thing really around here. So I mean, fans are definitely passionate about their Blazers around here. It's pretty cool.
Yep. And now we're going to see what happens with the Blazers with Dame Lillard, but hopefully we'll see. I mean,
Trust me,
I do think you guys getting Scoot is like going to be a big deal for you guys for the next decade or so. I think he is going to be
Scoot and Shaden.
Yeah.
We got a great young core. I'm hoping Dame stays. You know, I never know. Every day it changes, but Dame's very loyal. I know everybody else in America wants him to go somewhere else, but we love Dame here and want him to stay. So hopefully he can build that championship here that we haven't had since '77. So that's what I always tell. It's like in my lifetime, I just want to see. I want to go to a finals game at the Rose Garden. It'd be awesome. Well, sorry, it's called the Moda now. I still call it the Rose Garden, but yeah.
I get that. I mean, I still call the Thunder Arena Chesapeake, even though it's Paycom Center now or whatever. I'm like, no, I'm always going to call it the Peak. I'm sorry.
It's funny. That's funny.
So did you want to make sure was there some other things you want to make sure to mention about the SKYBOX sets or anything else you wanted to talk about or show off? Because I know you brought some things to show. I want to make sure we hit on all the major talking points about that set in particular, because it is a pretty incredible set that you're going after, and I really applaud you for getting as far along it as you have so far.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I got everything. I'm super old school. I'm a 90s kid, so I literally keep the non-graded ones in a binder. So I mean, I got the binder just filled. And it's one day I'm gonna have to figure out a way to, you know, actually like show it off, but it's in the binder in a safe, and I love every once in a while just, you know, flipping through it and just going down memory lane. It's kind of crazy because again, I'll look at cards and I'll be like, oh, I remember that out, you know, whatever year it was, getting that before a game he signed, and then I have little stories for everything. It's just, I mean, we could be here all day. It's just. Like I said, I could show them off, but most people have seen what I post. So, but they're all here.
I'll put you to task. Why don't you try and pick one card that has an amazing story to it and tell that story, please?
Oh, see that's gonna be so. Obviously, I will show the Blazers page. These were pretty much what started it all. I meant because those were, as a kid, those were the ones that I could get signed pretty easily. You know, Jerome Kersey was always one of those big guys to me, and Uncle Cliffy. They were the cool players. So I mean, getting those signed at games. I'm trying to think of a specific story. Man, this one I posted it recently, but this is a card that I never thought I would ever have. But that the Patrick Ewing, because he's just known. He's not a signer. I've tried for years. I've seen guys literally walk up to him with $100 bills and ask for him to sign a card, and he just his answer, I heard him say more times, is, "You guys know I don't sign." He'll look at you. He's not necessarily too rude about it, but he just Like, don't even ask me. You know I'm not going to sign. So that was one that recently when he started doing a signing that I got, and I was just like, it was so satisfying because that was something as a kid that I just dreamed about was, Jordan and Ewing and pretty much the Dream Team guys. They were like up on a pedestal to me. So any of those guys, when I get those, it's just it's unreal. Like I said, the David Robinson one was pretty cool because that was just so random when you see guys walking, you're just like, oh my gosh, that's David Robinson walking by. And then you go into a little panic mode and you try and figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to ask them and just you don't want to take up their time. You don't want to sound crazy. You don't want to sound like this random. I'm this 30-year-old guy just walking up to him in a casino. I didn't want to ambush him or feel anyway. So it's just the fun of the chase is awesome. And some people understand that, the graphing guys. So it's so much. It's fun. It's really fun.
Well, thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. So yeah, once again, it's Chaz, hashtag Graffin on Twitter. Are there other social media or any
Nope.
any sort of e-commerce you on Whatnot or anything else that people can find you on? Is it mainly Twitter?
Unfortunately, yeah. I'm pretty low key guy, and I stick to Twitter, and that's about it.
Hey,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. What about shows? You going to go to any shows coming up soon?
So I was gonna try and go to the National this year, but I'm not, unfortunately. I like I said, I go to Vegas every year, so I'm leaving for Vegas in about a week. We go down there for a couple weeks. Um, Shameless plug. My brother's a barber, so he goes down there and he actually cuts up NBA players. He cuts a bunch of the Blazers. He cuts away teams when he comes. So we go down there and he goes and cuts players, and that's another way that I get to meet people and be in that circle, and it's awesome. So this is kind of my favorite time of year is the summer. Do some traveling, and like I said, I take those SKYBOX cards with me everywhere, and I never know what's going to happen. So we'll see this year.
Absolutely. Well, good luck to you on your continued journey to get even further in that set. Hopefully, you get some more pickups here in the near future. And yeah, if anyone else out there has any leads on some, please reach out to Chaz on Twitter or let him know. He may be needing something that you're aware of. You never
You
know.
never know. Yep,
Um,
you never know.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing that set. It's a fantastic set once again, and thank you for sharing your stories. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk